What's the most interesting thing about MIT Media Lab?
MIT is amazing on its own. I've been here for almost 18 years. But think of Media Lab as kind of the startup within MIT.
What has been like the latest examples of some amazing innovations from MIT Media Labs?
This is actually the 40th anniversary. The concept of social media itself came from MIT Media Lab. Ideas like one laptop per child, e-ink that you see in Kindle readers. If you have played with Legos, those come from here.
What has been like the most unique or favorite project that you think that this is something I'm most proud of?
We built a camera that can see around corners. It cost us millions of dollars to build it.
What do you exactly mean by AI?
You might have a 70-year-old woman in Bihar, in Patna, and she'll say to her agent, Nasik jana hai, Kumbh Mela ke liye, main kya karu? And what her agent does is automatically talks to all the other agents, the railway AI agent, the hospital AI agent, the travel AI agent, and figures out everything for her.
What is one AI tool that you think you would want to build that will, like, let's say, disrupt the industry?
Wow, you ask tough questions.
India is currently the fastest growing large economy in the world, and if you want to take real benefit of this growth story, investing in Indian businesses and companies is non-negotiable. Whether you're already investing in markets or just starting your investing journey, Grow is one of the platforms to do it. Grow's interface is very clean and intuitive. Here you can trade stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, IPOs, bonds, even commodities, all from one app. Portfolio tracking is also very structured. You can see performance, understand sector allocation, and get a complete breakdown of your investments in just a few tabs. And because of this simplicity and trust, Grow has become India's largest stockbroker today. Check out the Grow app today for more details and stay tuned for this entire episode of Conversation with Kushal. So this is the lobby, right? This is the main lobby. So what exactly is this? This is interesting. Space exploration.
So this space is actually used, the main lobby is used for art exhibits, technology exhibits, but also kind of what we call it, possible futures. So, students are thinking about, so there's an exhibit about, how life could be on Mars or on Moon or in space in general. So there are groups here who actually send, robots and sensors on the mission, like the Moon mission, for example, or space mission. So a lot of these things actually go into space that students have built. And then also there's other research groups that are thinking through kind of life in space, because it won't just be life for scientists, but if you're going to have a cultural and social life as well. So they're thinking through, all the possibilities of how to make, life in space very, very interesting.
So what exactly are these? Like, this is a resource camera.
Yeah, some of them are cameras, some of them are really tiny motors, that are created here, and they expand and they can, capture sun. Don't zoom in. Don't zoom in. So they're really building technologies and then trying them out. Of course, they tried them out in Arizona and deserts first, and they put them on a mission to see how they will last. As you know, sending things in space is very, very expensive. I would spend thousands of dollars per gram, the rates for sending something in space. But often we have, some grants available, and students and researchers are sending some cutting-edge solutions in space.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so fascinating. And I'm sure like you must be also working with NASA and all these organizations.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there's a very good collaboration. In fact, our director of MIT Media Lab is the former deputy director of NASA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's a huge influence on working about space in the lab here.
That's amazing.
So this is an amazing group by Patty Mays. You might remember Pranav Mistry. So Pranav Mistry, who worked on the Sixth Sense projector about 10 years ago. So Pranav Mistry comes from this group, from Patty Mays' group. And of course, there are many other students working on some amazing things. And their group is Fluid Interfaces. They're thinking about, new types of VR headsets, new bands, new rings, new types of devices to measure your brain activity, and so on. And some amazing things that are going on in this group. So new types of wristbands, new types of watches, ways to deal with sleep, new glasses. They're doing some really interesting things.
So all the people who are working inside are working on some of these projects.
Some of these devices, some of these sensors, some of this human-computer interaction setups.
It might be a silly question, but on an average, how many hours everyone would be working per day?
I mean, people love being here. And I mean, even if you come on a late night on a Saturday, there are a lot of people working on their projects here. So this is the life for most people. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for a lot of folks. Absolutely, you can see it's a very unique construction. And it's very open. All the vertical walls are pretty much transparent. So from a place like this, you can look at this lab that works on robotics and sensors, and you can look at our atrium down here, which is a very open space. We just saw Patty May's group that works on human-computer interaction devices. We have a group here that works on biomedical devices and so on. So just a beautiful space with a lot of natural light. And people are here all the time. There are events here all the time. A lot of focus on science, technology, art, design, and entrepreneurship.
And all these students who are there, are they studying for their PhD or are they working here full time?
So we have masters and PhD both. Okay. So about 2/3 are doing masters and others are doing PhD.
Okay. And all these students are also working on these projects?
Yeah. Unlike many of the labs, the students have a lot of freedom on what topics to work on. Of course, they get evaluated, but they have a lot of freedom. So students will come with some really crazy, really wide ideas. And then we have critique days where faculty and others can give them a feedback on how viable this project is, how exciting this project is.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. So this yellow room looks super interesting. So what is this about?
Yeah, as I said, I think Media Lab is really about thinking about biology and technology simultaneously. So there's a group called Conformable Decoders, and they're thinking about how do you create new medical devices that actually conform to human body? Because today, when you think about X-rays or ultrasound, they're all very rigid devices. Like for example, for breast scanning, it's very painful for women because the X-ray devices are very rigid. So they're creating completely conformable machines that can kind of almost navigate on all your body, and they're not flat, and they can conform to the shape of your body.
Oh.
And they build all the microelectronics and all the sensors and all the mathematics behind that, so you can create images even though the mechanical devices are not rigid anymore. Wow. Sounds good. Should we go down? Yeah, we're here on the top floor of the MIT Media Lab. Just a beautiful location. You can see all of MIT in the back. The building in the yellow there is the computer science building called CSAIL building. The biology building over here. And then that's the famous dome of MIT, which looks like a R2-D2, or Taj Mahal, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's out there. And then the bridge on this side is so-called Harvard Bridge, because somehow MIT didn't want to claim it. So although it's right next to MIT, it's called the Harvard Bridge, and the downtown Boston on the other side. And what you should remember is that a lot of the main inventions were, like the first telephone call was by Alexander Graham Bell, was made exactly 150 years ago in June of 1875, which was done right here. And then also across the river, you cannot see from here, is the Mass General Hospital. But that's where anesthesia was invented, among many other things, for example. So a lot of the areas here are, filled with inventions. Just like a lot of history here. Of course, Boston also played a deep role in the American Revolution of American, freedom, American liberty. So many stories from here. So Boston is a good fusion of education, technology, and kind of the American history.
So this campus, how big is this campus?
I don't know how big it is, but MIT has about 10 to 20,000 people, depending on whether you include staff or not.
Got it.
Yes.
Oh, nice. So what exactly are these innovations? I see some shoes. I see some amazing things here.
I mean, Media Lab also wants to make sure that any work we do is also visible to the public and what's going on. So these are the 7 themes we have in the building. Human augmentation, with new types of biomechatronics, new types of sensing, innovative interfaces, social justice. There's some of the themes that people are working on. And it's kind of good to remind ourselves that on any given day, we might be working on very specific technology, but we're inspired by how it can make a difference in the bigger world.
Got it. This is super, super inspiring. And I think a lot of innovations that are happening here. Thank you so much for walking us through all these amazing things. I see like some amazing things there as well. What exactly are they? Like, is it like some vehicle which has been?
Yeah, these are real experiments. So this comes from a group called City Science, and they're always thinking about how can it change our life in cities. So this is a transportation solution where it's not a car, it's not a bicycle, it's not a scooter, but it's a hybrid. And the whole vehicle, by the way, can fold into something really small that can be packaged. So they're doing a lot of projects in Taiwan and other kind of high density countries to see how they can change transportation overall. Yes.
So amazing. Thank you so much for walking us through this. This is super, super inspiring. Any last message for all the audience who are watching this? How they can become more innovative, how they can get into MIT and all? Any last message?
Yeah. Kushal, first of all, it's so nice to see a fellow Nasikkar come all the way. Both of us are here, talking about MIT and how technology can shape the world. I think it's very critical to realize that in today's world, I think, the young adults, the innovators have all the tools at their hand. And I think, your hobby has to be your mind.
Yeah, that's a very, very good thing. Your hobby has to be your mind. Ramesh sir, welcome to Conversation with Kushal. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. And Kushal, welcome to MIT Media Lab right here in Cambridge.
Thank you so much. This is such a beautiful space. I entered the campus and I was blown away by the innovations which are happening here. I mean, like, what's the most interesting thing about MIT Media Lab so far, according to you?
We like to think of, MIT is amazing on its own. I've been here for almost 18 years. But think of Media Lab as kind of the startup within MIT. So a lot of the crazy ideas that people want to explore, whether it's technology ideas or whether it's kind of, ideas at a kind of administrative or structure level, a lot of those ideas are actually, tested out here at the Media Lab. So we kind of like to think of Media Lab as like the front edge of the front edge in innovation.
So can you give what has been like the latest examples of some amazing innovations from MIT Media Labs and what has been their contribution?
This is actually the 40th anniversary at MIT Media Lab. If you come here in 6 months, we have a major celebration here.
Congratulations.
For the 40th year. And our founders, Nicholas Negroponte and others, had this model that we should create something to support research and ideas that are not part of rest of MIT. And that has spawned many, many ideas. I mean, the concept of social media itself came from MIT Media Lab. But ideas like one laptop per child that's given us all the tablets and iPads is from here. E-ink that you see in Kindle readers is from here. If you have played with Legos, especially Lego Mindstorm, those come from here. If it's in Minority Report, when Tom Cruise gets up and uses his screen for pre-crime, that was built here. Many such ideas, of course, many research topics from my group as well. But at least in the popular press, those are some of the things that you might be familiar with. Oh, Guitar Hero is another one. The whole idea of using games, using technology outside a video screen. So Guitar Hero is you take a real guitar, not real guitar, but a guitar that looks like it could be a real guitar, but has electronics built into it. So a lot of these ideas have come from MIT Media Lab.
So you said even social media was built from MIT Media Labs. How come? Like, what had happened?
I mean, before my time here, but the original thesis, which remains true even today, is Media Lab is really about people and people using technologies. So I'm very proud of MIT and other technological universities where the focus is to build better technology. And at Media Lab, we like to think about it's about people. How are people going to use technologies? So, for example, we have a group here on space exploration. They don't only explore space, but they think about what would human life look like on Mars. So they start thinking about it now because it's going to take us 10, 15 years to get that right. So social media is another example where, early 90s, when people would just think about the World Wide Web and maybe email and eBay and e-commerce and things like that, folks at MIT Media Lab started thinking about, what does a social life look like online? So that's how social media came around. Another group here looked at, what does it mean for cameras to do computer vision? So before that, in the 80s, everybody thought cameras should be used to look at machines. It was called machine vision. So to improve manufacturing, to look at materials and inspection and so on. And one of the professors here, Sandy Pentland, he said, instead of looking at machines, why don't you aim the cameras at people and see what can they do with it? And so very first algorithm they wrote in the early 90s was face detection smile detection, emotion detection, and that created a whole field of computer vision that looks at humans as opposed to looking at objects. So as you can see, whether it's social media or computer vision and many other fields like that, MIT Media Lab has been at the forefront of thinking about how people might use technologies. So augmented reality, virtual reality, social media, computer vision, new types of displays, new types of medical devices. A lot of those innovations have come here from MIT Media Lab.
As far as your favorite project is concerned, what has been like the most unique or favorite project so far in the last 18 years that you think that this is something I'm most proud of?
You said something very important, Kushal, which is ambitious projects, and this is something I want to kind of seems obvious, but for some part, I was at Google X. I took a leave here from MIT, and I was working with Google X, and I would run into Larry Page quite a bit, and I was just describing some ideas, and he said, okay, interesting. And I immediately could see that he wasn't impressed with it. And I told him a couple of more ambitious projects. He's like, oh, that's interesting. So I could just see his reaction. And he said something very important. He said, Ramesh, I'm glad you're working on this ambitious project, because remember that whether you're working on an ambitious project or you're working on a small project, the amount of work you have to do is the same. You're still working the same amount of time. So you might as well work on ambitious projects. That really stayed with me. And even today, when I start something really crazy, really complicated projects that could require me to assemble thousands of people, raise millions of dollars, expect me to shift some ecosystems and so on, I always think about it doesn't really matter. If I'm successful in even one of those three projects, it's still as satisfying and as impactful as if I work on a really small project and try to make an incremental progress. So that's what it has been. So some of the projects that are a little bit crazy is we built a camera that can see around corners beyond line of sight. I mean, we're using a camera here. It can only see what's in the line of sight. But imagine if that camera can see what's under this table and what's out here. So that's, we built a camera like that. It cost us millions of dollars to build it. It took us about 5 years to do it. In fact, my own department chair, he said, Ramesh, this sounds a little bit too ambitious. Don't you want to work on something where you can write papers and start showing some incremental progress? Because that's how you get tenure, that's how you get funding and so on. But if you work on such an ambitious, he didn't say these words, but it's obvious what he was hinting at. It's like, if you work on ambitious projects, first of all, there's no guarantee that you'll succeed. And you can't even raise funding for it for several years. So how will you survive? But I think it worked out fine. And there have been many projects like that we have started where I look at myself in the mirror and say, this seems even more ambitious than the previous one.
Yeah, and the camera project which you're saying, so basically if I have a camera here, so it'll be able to see even like downstairs, even on the corners and all, even if it is not within the frame of the camera.
Even if it's around a wall, around a corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Around the corner as well. And
Yes.
Is it available? Like, is it there?
Yeah. We built it. We built it. And, and as I said, previously it would cost us about $1 million, half the size of this room to build that camera. But now we have shrunk it all the way down. So what you may not realize, Kushal, is that when you look at an iPhone, you see how many cameras here?
3 cameras.
3? Actually, there are 4. So this tiny dot here, this tiny black dot, is actually a 4th camera.
Oh.
It's called a LiDAR camera. So it's sending light and receiving light all the time. And it's measuring the time of flight, how long it takes for the light to go out and come back. So it's measuring at the speed of light. And depending on how far things are, so if you're closer, the light will come back, let's say in 4 nanoseconds, 5 nanoseconds. I'm further back, it takes like 6 nanoseconds. And from that, it can measure distance to where you are and can create a 3D shape of where you are. So now the similar technology, but slightly more advanced, is what it used to cost $1 million, but now it's available for $10 price point. So we of course work with these companies as well. And it's now can be built in very small form factor. It can work in broad daylight. And DARPA, which is the Defense Research Agency in the US, put $30 million behind our ideas to see how they can build cameras to sit on corners. So for them, it's about rescue operations or using drones to look at the bad guys and so on. But actually, it's a multi-purpose technology because we can build cars that can avoid collision of what's around the bend, or build endoscopes that can see deep inside the body without having to explore, every pathway, and so on. So we have commercialized it now, and we raised several $1 million for a startup as well.
Is it also similar to another project where you had mentioned in one of the talks that one camera, like even without an X-ray, will be able to tell you what is there inside the body? That is called femtography, right?
Yeah, femto photography. Yeah, no, this is one of our favorite projects. So why do we call it femto photography? So everybody know about millisecond and microseconds and nanoseconds, but you can go to picoseconds and femtosecond. Okay, 10 to the minus 12, 10 to the minus 15 seconds, and at such a short duration, you can start seeing the world in completely new ways. So we invented the field of femto photography, and that's what allows us to see around corners or see through the body. Because as you can imagine, if you shine a laser pointer on your let's say on your finger, you will see a red spot on the other side, but it does not come out as a laser beam, like a consistent laser beam, because the light is all defocused, it gets diffused through your skin. But again, if you can measure light at a femtosecond resolution, which is a million times faster than say a microsecond, or sorry, a nanosecond, then you can actually start seeing everything. So that's one of the tricks you can use to build new kinds of medical devices without exposing yourself to X-rays, which are, as you know, are not very safe if you do it too frequently. So this is, I mean, some of these are still in the research phase. I wouldn't call they're commercial products, but shows the way of how this field could move.
Can you also talk about the project of Kumbh Mela? What exactly was the problem and how did you solve and tackle that problem?
Thank you for reminding me, Kushal. As you know, you're also from Nasik, and Kumbh Mela, for your audiences who may not know, happens 4 places across India every 3 years. So at a given place, it happens every 12 years. So everybody knows about the Mahakumbh in Allahabad that just happened in early 2025, and the one Nasik, where both of us come from, is happening in 2027. So the previous one was 2015, and in one of those ambitious moments, we got together, and some of our friends I had already started a nonprofit in Hyderabad, my hometown, my birth town, and we worked with Alvi Prasad Eye Institute to see how we could create solutions for people who have low vision or blind or have cataracts and so on. And we worked with certain foundations there, and they put a lot of money, thinking, believing that we can create really good solutions. So that was a very successful effort in Hyderabad, and that gave me some confidence that actually, if you think about the country of India, there's a lot of talent, there's actually a lot of capital, but it's very difficult to make sure people are working on the right problem. So if you think about really important problems in health and education and sustainability, you don't see as many entrepreneurs. You see a lot of entrepreneurs in e-commerce and dating sites and gaming and so on, and that's because a market for that and funding for that is somewhat obvious. But when it comes to things like health and education and so on, it's challenging to get things started. Now, if you think about Kumbh Mela, it's kind of unique, right? So the latest Kumbh Mela in Allahabad created about $10 billion of economic activity in about 40 days. And the Kumbh Mela in Nasik creates about $2 billion of economic activity in 30 days, which is a lot of money for a city of only 2 million people of Nasik. And so what we said is that it's a very beautiful, very colorful, very spiritual festival. It's very important we maintain the purity and the beauty of the Kumbh Mela spiritual experience. At the same time, it's also important for everybody who visits Kumbh Mela to make sure that it's a very convenient experience. And I was at Olympics, just before the Allahabad Kumbh Mela in August of 2024, And if you think about Olympics, like I was in Paris and going there was very complicated. Like you have to find the flights that are all booked and the hotels are all booked and the city's all, has closures. You have to walk many, many miles to go see your events. And people still make a lot of effort to go see Olympics. And we said, Kumbh Mela should be the same. Many people all over the world should be excited to come visit Kumbh Mela. Because typically Kumbh Mela is considered by the government officials as a law and order problem. And they just want to make sure that, it's safe. And then people come for as little time as possible. And you discourage them to stay there and you just let them go. So for example, in Nasik, the Kumbh Mela happens, on the river Godavari at the Ram Ghat. And they were going to come and do this Shahi Snan there, take a holy dip. But the government officials shut down taxis, rickshaws, and anything like that. And even if you're a 70-year-old, 80-year-old, elderly woman, you have to walk 5 to 10 kilometers to get to this point. We said, okay, we understand the reason behind it because you want to have, good security and crowd control. But it's kind of unfair that pilgrims have to, kind of really suffer through that experience. And on the flip side, it's also a lost opportunity for all the, let's say, the rickshaw and taxi players and the hotels and everybody else, because they're also shut out of this ecosystem. So we worked with the city government and they said, why can't we have both? Let's have safety, security, and crowd management. At the same time, let's open it up, as a, highly entrepreneurial ecosystem and bring really new innovations into this. And to our delight, after working with them for almost a year, they agreed. And Dr. Praveen Gedam, who was the CEO of Kumbh Mela back then, he's a very forward thinker. And he and Mr. Fadnavis, who was the chief minister back then as well, and many others, they were very supportive. And they said, let's do this. And so we brought a lot of talented people from all over the world, many top companies from all over the world to work with us. That was great in 2015. And we called it the Digital First Kumbh Mela. And for 2027, we want to make it an AI First Kumbh Mela. Mm-hmm. And the good news is that, Dr. Praveen Gedam is back again as a CEO of Kumbh Mela. And also Mr. Fadnavis is also back again as the chief minister. So this time, we don't have to spend any time at all. And they're working with us already. And we're working with them to help each other to create an AI First Kumbh Mela.
So, two questions. So, on the digital first Kumbh Mela in 2015, so what exactly did you do? Like, what was the innovation, and then how did it help a lot of people who were there? Like, how did it help manage the crowd, etc.?
Yeah. So obviously, when people think about Kumbh Mela, they think about the crowds and epidemics and so on. So we definitely made sure we're targeting that. So typically when you're managing crowds, you have police at many intersections, and they put barricades and they relay through their phones or some kind of other mechanism to the control tower what kind of crowds there are. We said, wouldn't it be amazing if there's a dashboard where you can see where all the crowds are? And so we said, let's use a cell phone tower data, because as people with cell phones, back then they were just feature phones, which is perfectly fine, no smartphones in 2013, 2014. And we said, as people are moving around, the cell phone towers are actually calculating how many people are in a given region. And so based on that, we can create a real-time heat map of which region is very crowded and which region is not. And from that, you can decide which roads to block to reduce, the crowd density, and which roads to open, and so on. So this was a huge success. So Fadnavis government and Dr. Praveen Gedam convinced all the telecom providers to provide this information in real time. You should remember that this was happening for the first time in the world, that telecom providers were willing to share this information in real time, because as you can imagine, this is also their trade secret. So they don't want to reveal that information to each other. Different telecom providers don't want to share that information, but thanks to the government's efforts, very good efforts, we were able to convince them. And our team at MIT and many others, we built all the solutions around that to create this. That's just one small example of how digital technology was used to create a very safe Kumbh Mela with zero stampedes, zero lives lost, zero children lost, kind of a children and parent separation, zero epidemics. Again, all the credit goes to the government officials, and we played a very small role in providing the digital layer for it. And now we want to do the same thing with AI in 2027.
That's very humble and modest of you to say that all the credit goes to someone else. But second question was on the AI first Kumbh Mela in 2027. So I'm curious to understand. So what do you exactly mean by AI first, and what are you planning exactly for the 2027 thing?
Yeah. First of all, when we start talking about AI first Kumbh Mela in 2 years ago, in 2023, everybody just blew us off. They're like, "You're thinking too much in the future. This is not Olympics. This is, Kumbh Mela and so on." And what we told people, ChatGPT had just come out. And of course, my own research here at MIT in AI, for the last 20 years. And we said, listen, ChatGPT is just about a year old back then. And imagine how much our life has changed. Think about what will happen in 4 years from 2023 to 2027. And people said, okay, we'll see. And as you can see, in 2025, ChatGPT doesn't even sound very futuristic. We just take it for granted. And the same thing is going to happen to the rest of AI. So specifically about AI agents. So as you know, in India, we have this jam trinity. Everybody has a Aadhaar number, which is identity. Everybody has a phone number, and everybody has a bank account. And what we think we should do to add to this trinity is a fourth element, which is every citizen should have their own personal AI agent. Okay? So there'll be a Kushal agent, there'll be a Ramesh agent, and so on and on and on. And our agent on our behalf can do some really interesting things. Like today, when we say interacting with digital world, our immediate thinking is that we use our smartphones, and there's an app for railways, there's an app for hotel, there's an app for translation and so on. But we have to move away from an app mindset to an agent mindset. So 2027, you might have a 70-year-old woman in Bihar, in Patna, and she'll say to her agent, her own personal AI agent, Sitabai agent, I want to, हमें जाना है, नासिक जाना है, कुंभ मेला के लिए, मैं क्या करूं? Okay? And what her agent does is automatically, talks to all the other agents, the railway AI agent, the hospital AI agent, the travel AI agent, and figures out everything for her. So says, you know what, like maybe, we have a train on this particular day that may be good for you, and look like you're diabetic. So, this is the information about, a pharmacy, and here's a hospital where you should go if you have any troubles. By the way, you can stay for 2 days, and there's this particular, homestay that you can avail of, and so on. But while one Sitabai is working on it, there'll be lakhs of others doing the same thing. And then the railway agent, at some point, railway AI agent will sometimes realize, actually, a lot of people are coming from Patna, but not many people are coming from Indore. So maybe we should have 2 more trains going from Patna for that month, right? Or the hospital who's interacting with Sitabai's agent can say, oh, Sitabai needs this particular type of, diabetic medicines. What I can do is I can send her some information in advance to her agent saying, make sure you pack these other things, and make sure you carry this particular medications and these precautions and so on. So anything that could happen, any untoward incident, epidemics can happen, they're prepared for it. So all these agents can talk to each other and create a society. It's almost like Sitabai has her own personal assistant, her own personal secretary, and the hospital has their own personal secretary, and they're talking to each other. And so this mental model makes it actually very easy. And just like countries like India have leapfrogged, we've skipped landlines and went straight to mobile phones. The same thing is going to happen with AI. I think a lot of these organizations are going to skip the digital revolution and skip straight to AI revolution. And so we think, the Kumbh Mela will be an amazing experience in general. Our goal is to make it as amazing as the Olympics. That's the goal. Let's see where we reach. But I think it'll also be a great demonstration of AI agents. And as I said, every Indian citizen could have an AI agent. So we're working with the DPI, digital public infrastructure people, and so on. And in India, everybody already has their DigiLocker. which has your health information, your degree certificates, and so on. So you can create, we like the ecosystem is going to create an AI agent on the spot. So Sita Bai will have her own AI agent, like on the spot. And the moment she downloads the Kumbh Mela app, she will have a Sita Bai agent working for her, authenticated through her Aadhaar and UID and UPI. And so we think it's achievable. And the good part about thinking like AI is that unlike if you think about the pandemic, the government did a very good job. Actually, my team was involved in launching the Arogya Setu. With the project started here at MIT, and we worked with the Indian government to launch Arogya Setu. Again, all the credit goes to the Indian leaders for launching Arogya Setu. We were just part of the ideation and early concepts. But the challenge with the pandemic was we have to build all this software to talk to each other. And when people build software, it becomes very rigid. It's very difficult to change it. But when it comes to AI agents, it's very, very easy. Later on, I'll show you how to create a Kushal agent in a matter of 30 seconds. And we'll launch your Kushal agent today.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
30 seconds?
30 seconds.
My God.
Just go to join39.org, join39.org, and we'll show you how to create your own agent in 30 seconds.
Oh, wow. That'll be super fascinating.
Yes.
So about AI tools, since we are talking about AI agents, if let's say you today were supposed to launch or build one AI tool, there are a lot of AI tools in the industry. What is one AI tool that you think you would want to build that will, like, let's say, disrupt the industry?
Wow, you ask tough questions. I think a lot of people are underestimating, how much AI will be part of our daily life. And there are all these dystopian views of like, AI will take over and you lose jobs and, it'll be sentient. And, let's not worry about that. I think to me, its impact in health, its impact in education is massive. And so people like Bill Gates have talked about it quite a bit, that these two sectors, if everybody has a doctor in their pocket and every student, has a personalized AI tutor, I think those two have a lot of people talked about. Question is, how do you make it happen? Okay. So let's take an example of the pandemic again. And it's not enough to say AI will solve the problem in healthcare. We need something more than that, which we call decentralized AI. And decentralized AI, the notion of decentralization became very critical during the pandemic in India, as you know very well. The government pushed this concept of decentralization, that a lot of decisions should be taken locally and so on. So the decentralization was very key. But in AI, that's an even bigger concept. So if you want to really solve pandemic, what you need to be able to do is get a lot of health data from everybody, train really good AI models, and then disseminate the experience to everybody else. Turns out this is a very challenging problem. Now, do you use Google Maps when you're traveling from point A to point
B? Yeah.
Now, think about why Google Maps works. It's very clever, right? It's encouraging all the drivers with their smartphones to share their GPS locations live with Google. Google calculates the traffic density, and then for every one of us gives us turn-by-turn navigation. Okay? So it crowdsources all the GPS coordinates, finds which roads are jammed and which roads are not, and then gives each of us turn-by-turn navigation. If you take the same concept of crowdsourcing, it can really impact many, many fields. So going back to the pandemics, if everybody has, not everybody, but if a system has information about everybody's health condition, who they're meeting, who they're getting infected, are they taking particular medicine that's helping them to recover, what exercise they are doing, and so on. If they had this God's eye view into everybody's lives, we could run a AI algorithm to figure out what works. Like, does doing proning help or not? Just taking, haldi with milk help you or not? Or all this so-called magical medicines that came up, and all this plasma replacement, is this working or not? Nobody knew. Everybody was in a fear, and people are trying whatever they can. And a lot of lives were lost, and a lot of money was lost with unknown outcomes. But if you have a God's eye view on everything that's going on, we could actually change healthcare overnight. And so the promise of decentralized AI is, how do you collect information and train AI models, even though getting that information is actually very challenging? because people are not people will not willingly give away their health information like they willingly give away their GPS location. So I think that decentralized AI is very critical, which is the same as what we're doing now called Project Nanda, which is how do we create a new form of AI that can solve very critical problems like healthcare or supply chain or pandemics and so on, where um, where if you had God's eye view, you could solve these problems. But because of organizational silos and trade secrets and privacy and this misinformation and kind of lack of trust, people don't want to share the information. So how do you create the incentive models and so on to create this overall ecosystem is what I think is really critical in AI. And I think India could be the first country. Kumbh Mela could be the first example of how such a system could work.
Can you delve deeper into what exactly are you doing with Project Nanda and any other current projects that are going on right now?
So Project Nanda is actually an outgrowth of how we were thinking about Kumbh Mela, right? And so Nanda stands for networked AI agents in decentralized architecture. Okay, that's what NANDA stands for. But it's also the name of my sister who lives in Nasik. So it's my respect to my love for my sister. And but the idea behind Nanda is that every one of us will have an agent, as I said before. And there'll be 8 billion agents for each one of us. And there'll be tens of billions of other agents for, every car, every microwave, every cell phone, every laptop, every government agency, every aircraft will have their own agent. And they'll all be talking to each other. So think of them as the internet of AI agents. And these AI agents will effectively go on a road trip on the internet. These AI agents will be roaming around on our behalf. They'll be navigating, discovering new things, learning new things, socializing with other agents, bringing us back information. Along the way, they will earn some money, transact on our behalf. So imagine this future where there are billions, maybe trillions of these AI agents that are navigating all over the world on our behalf. Like Kushal agent will be navigating, Ramesh agent is navigating, and along the way bringing us really useful information, making your agent and my agent smarter, but also possibly working on our behalf. Just like today you can invest some money in some stock, and it grows while you're sleeping. Your agents will be making money on our behalf while we are having or on the beach and relaxing. And that's the future we will get to very soon. And if you have this internet of AI agents, we have to reinvent the internet. It's not like the internet of websites or internet of podcasts or internet of YouTube videos. It's an internet of AI agents. So that's a very exciting future. And we think it's going to happen very quickly. It's not going to take 15 years. It could happen in less than 5 years. And again, I think countries and organizations that can see this revolution happening can do early experiments and get that going. So Project Nanda for us is really a way to create this in a very responsible and ethical and scalable way, the internet of AI agents.
How many total students you would have trained up so far in your entire career? Do you remember the number or rough stat?
Difficult to remember, maybe about 50 or so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And out of all the people you would have met, like what has been the most memorable interactions with, let's say, the legends of the tech industry also in the US? For example, you mentioned you also interacted with Larry Page. I'm sure you must have, let's say, interacted with a lot of these tech giants. So who, like, let's say people like maybe Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or Satya Nadella, have you interacted with them? If yes, what has been like the memorable conversations?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate because given my role, I interact with a lot of leaders from all over the world, also in India, with Mr. Chandra, who's the head of Tata back then, head of TCS, Mr. Tata himself, Mr. Birla, Mr. Anand Mahindra, and of course in the US as well. It's really is I mean, of course we are a big admirer, but often in this one-on-one interactions, some amazing things happen. I remember with Mr. Ratan Tata, we dearly miss him. He gave us a very large grant to MIT to see if MIT researchers and students can spend a lot of time in India. And along the way, he would spend physical time here in this building. And he would just come unannounced, by the way, with no handlers, nobody handling. He would just show up one day saying, Ramesh, how are you doing? And I said, oh, you're here. As you can imagine, I would be very nervous. Like, oh, can I just spend some time with your students? And he would just sit down and, just have a one-on-one conversation and just spend a quality time. It's kind of amazing. And at one point, this before he started spending time here at MIT, we were doing a workshop at IIT Bombay, and he had supported that work as well through the Tata Foundation. And we had many top scientists from MIT and Harvard were with us at IIT Bombay, and of course, a lot of students from India. And this was, we were doing a lot of good work, and he came to see us for 30 minutes, kind of an official tour. And, he liked everything, and he said nice things, and he went away. And 30 minutes later, I got a call from one of his coordinators, like, Ramesh, Mr. Tata would like to come see you alone, one-on-one. And I was very worried what that means. He came to see me, and we went in a room just one-on-one. And he literally first sentence, he said, Ramesh, what you're doing here is amazing. And, I've never seen anything like this before. I have factories all over the world. But tell me how we can do this without you. How can we get rid of you? And I was very shocked, as you can imagine. First of all, I thought, am I doing something wrong? And it took me a few seconds to recover from that. And then he took a pause as well. And he said, Ramesh, in life, whatever you have built is real only if it can survive without you. And I said, wow, okay. And what he was telling me is that I might be doing things with a lot of my blood and sweat and my personal energy, but it's not sustainable, because the moment I walk away, all these things will, kind of fall apart. So what am I doing to create a structure, create an organization? What am I doing to create second level of leaders who can actually make this happen, even if I'm not there? And I think kind of experiences like that completely change the way you think about everything you do in life after that. So it's been amazing.
I think he's the perfect example of a person who has built a legacy institution. And
Yes.
Even without him, like, the institutions are like running so well. I think that is a perfect example.
That's a great example. Yeah.
And how about your interactions with, let's say, Mr. Mahindra, Mr. Birla?
They have been great as well. I mean, Mr. Anand Mahindra was, he's also on the MIT visiting committee, spends a lot of time with us and has been a great mentor for me. One funny story, my student, Rohit Pandarkar, he was finishing his master's and getting to PhD program. And he said, hey, I know Anand is coming to see you. Can I just come and say hello to him? I said, sure. So I meet Anand one-on-one, and at the end, I tell Anand, I have a student who just wants to say hello to you. And Rohit comes, and he, very Indian tradition, he touches his feet and says, Anand, I'm so glad you're here, and I'm very excited to say hello to you. And they talk for 2 minutes, and then at the end, Anand looks at him and says, Rohit, we need people like you in India. Next time you're in India, look me up. Whatever that means. And then, long story short, 2 months later, Rohit calls me from India on a phone. He says, I just met Anand in his office in Mumbai, and he wants me to join one of his companies as a CTO. And I said, Rohit, you're about to start your PhD. You are 24 years old, and I thought you're going to PhD at MIT. He said, no, I really want to think about this seriously. And, again, this was an amazing experience. And so Rohit became one of the, right-hand man for Mr. Anand Mahindra. And, now he's doing really well. Rohit is doing really well. He became one of the leaders in AI now. He worked with the Indian government as well, has done a lot of his own startups. So on one hand, I miss him that he didn't finish his PhD with me here at MIT, but he went on to do amazing things. And people like Anand Mahindra has really inspired him as well.
Just a 2 minutes meeting of that, like, made him the CTO of one of the companies.
Yeah, one of the group companies.
Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, Rohit is very smart and very accomplished himself. So I think both parties were very happy to have him as a CTO.
Yeah. And how about Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla?
So Mr. Birla has been, as you know, he started his career in a very difficult scenario after loss of his father. And so he's very young. And I think what's exciting about Mr. Chandra or Mr. Birla, who run the pretty big empires of Tatas and Birlas, is that they're very aware that they have legacy businesses, that chug along, but they're also in forward-looking businesses like telecom, smartphones, software, and so on. And what I've seen these leaders, I've seen them, kind of be very strategic about how do they empower their legacy businesses, at the same time use their forward-looking businesses, as a leverage to improve their legacy businesses. And so it's really fascinating to see how these are amazing leaders, because you don't see that problem in other countries. Like in the US, there's no notion of a group CEO anyway. Usually it's, a CEO of a particular company. And their portfolio usually is all forward-looking or more traditional businesses. But then you have these amazing leaders like Mr. Chandra and Mr. Birla, who's able to do both simultaneously. So it's been a great experience working with Mr. Birla, and I met his innovation team multiple times, and just trying to help each other in whatever small ways we can.
And any specific US leaders that you remember spending some time?
Yeah, I spent a time with a lot of leaders. Of course, Mr. Gates himself. And I was at Facebook, so interacted with Mr. Zuckerberg there, and so on. And we talked about Larry Page and Sergey Brin and so on. I think the interesting thing about these leaders is they're founder CEOs. And so it feels like they never age, They never age. It feels like they're still kind of in their 20s, and they're running their companies as if they're still in their 20s. And of course, they have much more wisdom and much more maturity, and and so on. But as a professor, I just told you I've been here for 18 years, but it doesn't feel like that. And I feel like this is kind of my first year at MIT as well. And when I look at these leaders about how they run their organization, I feel the same way. It's like, okay, it's very important to learn from everything that's going on, but also, my mantra is, on January 1st of every year, I wake up and say, I haven't done anything in my life. This is the year I'm going to do something more interesting. And I think keeping that freshness is very critical.
Yeah, I think having that learning attitude every time is very important.
Yeah.
So this has been super, super interesting conversation. One tricky question that I ask all my guests is that if you were in the shoes of Kushal Lodha and if you were interviewing Mr. Ramesh Raskar, what is one question you would like to ask him towards the end?
Wow, that is a trick question for sure. I think the question always worth asking to anybody is, if you're starting your career, let's say your 80s or 20s, when you're 18 or 20, what would you have done differently, and what would have you focused on?
What would you have done differently, and what would you have focused on?
I think I was, I come from very humble beginnings. I grew up in a house that's no larger than this conference room, with four siblings. My father was in the army, and he had no money, and so I was very fortunate to kind of come through that scenario and still be able to make through, only because of education. And so that has been always my mantra. That, like you said yourself, like learning and being curious is what really keeps you going. So I think I really did that. And I was very fortunate to get into a good PhD program, and of course, join MIT later on as a professor. It's difficult to say anything I would have done differently, except that I was very shy growing up, and nobody kind of helped me overcome my shyness, and it took me quite some time to overcome that. So I would say, when it comes to soft skills, I wish I had invested some energy, or somebody around me would have helped me overcome my soft skills, my shyness, and communication skills, and so on. And it took me quite some time to overcome that. And I can fake it till I make it. So I'm still a very shy person, but I can kind of get around that now. But I wish I had worked on that before.
Yeah. I think even I was a very shy person during my school days, but maybe like just becoming the co-curricular activities captain helped me in order to remove that shyness. And even like being a content creator now, I think public speaking experiences have given me that confidence.
Yeah.
But I can resonate to it very well. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. Before we end this video, I'd like to thank Grow for being our title sponsor. With support like this, we can deliver actionable finance content to our audience. So go ahead and download the Grow app today and tell us in the comment section which guest you want so that we can invite them. Also, ऐसे कौन से क्वेश्चन है जो मैंने पूछने चाहिए थे, कौन से क्वेश्चन है जो मैंने नहीं पूछने चाहिए थे, ऐसे कौन से पार्ट से आपको लगता है ट्रिम करने चाहिए थे, हमें कमेंट सेक्शन में बता देना ताकि we can give you the most value additive content. Thank you so much once again for watching this entire podcast and stay tuned for more amazing episodes of Conversation with Kushal.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.